Hello, my name is Dr. Cheryl Burdette, and I am the clinical director for Origins Incubator. And every week we get together and we talk about cases and really how to work with people. And this week's discussion was around autism. And of course, that diagnosis can seem very daunting. It is. There are a lot of pieces to cover, but this is why it so beautifully slots into a membership model because it gives you the opportunity to break things down into logical steps that help a kid move forward in terms of development, in terms of care and contact and interactions. And so what we talked about were what were the major foundational pieces. And as we look at the research in autism for as much as the past 20 years in the functional medicine space, what we see is that there has been a good concentration around gut-based therapies. Even 20, 30 years ago, things like secretin were being used, which we know is it comes from the gut. So as we move forward through that, we see all kinds of connections in terms of changes of the microbiome, dysbiotic bacteria, or even pathogens like yeast, and a relationship in terms of that inflammatory burden that's so important to calm down in our autistic kiddo. We talked about the interaction and the possibility of inflammation from food sensitivities, even allergies. And so when we think about it that way, now we're back to our foundational kind of piece. We're thinking about what is our gut-based approach. And this is something that's going to benefit most of our autistic population. So rather than feeling like a condition that's very foreign, it becomes really something that we're quite familiar with. In addition to that, a big focus in terms of lowering oxidative stress. So all of our glutathione therapies, whether or not that is eating organic or using things like sulforaphane that really readily cross the blood-brain barrier, and has been shown in studies to increase affection and attention in autistic population. A clinical study where sulforaphane was used for 8 weeks. There were noticeable improvements in terms of development and also interaction emotionally with caregivers. So again, our ground completely working on a gut-based approach, then thinking about oxidative stress, and from they are potentially thinking about what will we do at those next visits, that next part of the membership. So we know neurologic, so we think mitochondrial again. And while there can be a discussion about when and where to use an organic acid test, this is an area where organic acid testing has really shines. So in terms of our autistic population, that can be a nice go-to alongside our stool test, looking at food sensitivity and organic acid testing. And this gives us a really nice foundation. From there, we'll think about peeling away other layers of the onion. Are there underlying infections? Is there any issue in terms of Lyme or mold? We'll continue to think about toxicity, maybe heavy metals. And so we'll set that up in logical pieces as we move through a 5-visit model. And so you see now something that's quite overwhelming becomes very manageable, especially in this style of care. So a great place to brainstorm together and really start to feel a comfort with things that are very complex, but really knowing that a functional medicine approach is very much shines in terms of approach and lowering that inflammatory load and is so needed by our autistic kiddos.